And welcome to Martial Mentality, a martial arts inspired podcast. We got a full cast today. I've got Joe over here, I've got Trevor, and today we have Dr. Bill Schulte. Dr. Bill, please tell us a little bit about yourself, please, sir.
I am Bill Schulte. I'm an associate professor of mass communication at Winthrop University. I am here today because my daughters have been involved in martial arts for many, many years. And I have been bringing them to this studio for a very long time. And I try to encourage them in this pursuit.
So that's going to be our topic today. We're going to actually talk about parents and the martial arts pretty much. And because Joe's got a son that goes here, Dr. Bill's got his daughters that go here. And so we want to just get a perspective of what it's like to have children who do martial arts and also what it's like to parent children who do martial arts. So let's start with Dr. Bill. So Dr. Bill, you've been bringing Harper and Isla here for quite a long time.
Yes.
What made you want to get them into the martial arts?
Well, I think part of it was that they're girls, and they're very sweet girls, and I've been around higher education for long enough to know, not just higher education, but the world long enough to know that the world isn't always nice to sweet young girls. And I wanted them to understand how to defend themselves. I wanted them to understand how to, build confidence and things like that. Also, I mean, we could have ended up anywhere. We didn't necessarily, it wasn't like I said, okay, this is going to be Kung Fu. However, at the time I was enjoying watching some of the old Shaw-scope Kung Fu movies. Those Shaw Brothers cartoon Kung Fu movies from the 70s, and they were a ball to watch. And for some reason, Kung Fu entered my brain, and I thought that would be a very interesting thing for them to pursue. So Isla was too little. She was just a baby then, a toddler then, but Harper was, I think, in first or second grade.
She was like 6 or 7.
6 or 7. She might have been in kindergarten. So I thought, we watched a practice, and I asked her when she was done if she wanted to try it. I don't know if you recall, but her grandparents bought her a month of lessons.
I remember that, yeah.
To try it, and she liked it, and so here we are. So that's how it all kind of started.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Most people don't normally, think of Kung Fu as like one of the first martial arts that they want to try. Mm-hmm. Normally it's like karate or
taekwondo.
Yeah, Muay Thai, jiu-jitsu now, or boxing. You see that now. So, but that's pretty cool. So, do you feel like after they've done some martial arts training, do you feel like they're better prepared to deal with some of the challenges that the world has?
Absolutely. Now, they needed to. What you did immediately, and what the school did immediately, was start building their confidence in themselves, being able to do a small thing like Lama Chow, which I guess everybody knows that that's the introductory form that you do here.
They don't, but you told them.
That's the introductory form. Mm-hmm. And being able to go through those motions and steps from the start of it to completion, and then move on from that, and put these I guess, add pieces to the repertoire so that they could continue to build confidence. Harper was little, and Isla was very little when she started too. So that's the best kind of place to start, and that's the thing I really appreciated about the school and continue to appreciate about the school, is that confidence building aspect. But when they're little, we kind of think that we've seen the, I guess, pop culture world that shows like little kids beating up adults and things like that, but that isn't something that really happens. Mm-hmm. So their ability to really defend themselves and be confident in a fight or fend off a kidnapper or something like that, that is something I am worried about as a parent. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't something that I really worried. Well, it was something I worried about when they were little, but I knew they had to grow towards that.
Correct.
Does that make some sense?
Mm-hmm.
Now Harper can. Now it's fun. Harper beats me up all the time. She gets hysterical. It used to be that I could play with the girls. I'd play with Harper and come at her, do some little maneuvers. Now she just takes me apart like I'm still which it actually kind of makes me happy, because that's what I want her to be able to do, to have that confidence with a grown up or whatever, to get away from her.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. So
that's awesome. That's good. So Joe, let me ask you this question: with you being a parent and you having a son in here, can I ask you? And then also you train.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit different than Dr. Bill. Dr. Bill, have you done any martial arts before in the past?
In high school, I just a little bit. And of course, when you're in high school, you do go through the phase where you hit yourself in the head with nunchucks once in a while. But that's about it.
Okay. All right. So with you being an active training martial artist, and then having a son who trains martial arts, tell us a little bit about your experience and what martial arts has done for him.
So I came in here with the mindset of, look, let me say this first. When it comes to like working out, right, I developed the mentality of I'm working out for this, and then this is a side effect. So I came in here for my children, my young children. I want them to develop a lot of things up here. Focus, focus being the main one. Focus, discipline, that kind of thing. Listening, comprehension, and then learning to fight as a side effect. As they get older, like you said, obviously I want them to learn to defend themselves. That's a huge thing. But being tiny children, it's unreasonable to think that they can take on a pack of, adults. Like, that's just, it's not going to happen.
Right.
But I want them to learn the fundamentals, the skills. The sooner they learn, the better. So that's kind of my mindset going into it. And I've seen that happen already. Rivers, his focus is, it's grown tremendously. So, and his athleticism.
Let me say, for both you guys, one, I salute both of you, because I think what a lot of people don't realize, and I want Trevor to kind of talk about this from a teacher standpoint, is that as the teachers, it is important that you guys also reiterate what we're trying to teach here at the school. And I think you guys are doing an excellent job of showcasing that consistency, which is a huge thing that parents don't sometimes do when they're bringing children to martial arts schools. What we've seen is that people kind of bring their kids here and they just kind of drop them off, and then they're not really involved, so they don't have any idea what's going on.
It's a elective, it's like just a thing, a phase or something.
Right.
They don't treat it as a lifestyle kind of
that,
thing.
or they treat it like daycare, like, oh, I can go run off and do what I want to do for an hour or two.
Exactly.
And
Right.
someone can watch this kid while I'm.
There was a reason I came here. Like, for one, I've always been interested in martial arts, so I wanted to do it. But it was also, I wanted to get my feet wet in it, and then let them bring my kids in as well.
Right.
One thing I definitely, shout out to Dr. Bill, is Dr. Bill, you're always here. So it's so funny, because even though you're not training, you're training, because I've seen you do this.
You're involved.
When the girls are training and they do something wrong, he can correct them and go, no, that's not right. Because
Like,
he's
let's
watching.
do that.
Yeah, he knows. He knows.
He's paying attention.
Because he's paying attention.
Right.
You're here.
Right.
I think, and I appreciate that you appreciate that. However, I think that there are moments where I've been a little more overbearing than I probably should be with the girls, and I need to be a little more, especially when they're littler. Now I will go get a sandwich while they practice.
Trevor, I'm going to pop to your food. Okay, Dr. Bill, we got you.
I feel where you're coming from too, especially as I'm training too. Like, sometimes I feel like I need to just shut up and back off.
And there have been moments when I should have shut up.
Gotcha.
But I either and then I remind myself the reason why I bring them here is because I trust you guys. I trust the instructors. Right. I trust Delmar, Sifu, and Trevor, and you, and everybody else who's been here, because I've been here coming in and out long enough to know that there are good people here who have the girls' best interest at heart. And you set a high bar, but you help them get over the bar. You don't just say, and good luck with that. And I know that that's many studios sometimes, I suppose.
Right.
You do see that. You see a lot of times where, they just kind of like throw you in the water and say swim. And sometimes that works for people.
I've been in a studio like that.
Tell us about your experience.
I mean, that was years ago. It was a local martial arts school around here. I won't say names, but I remember being a kid, and I can remember my parents being like, why are y'all just kind of like because they kind of let the kids kind of run. What is it? Run roughshod, however you want to say it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And like the kids ain't really doing nothing. And like I remember there would be times where I was a kid, so I'd be running around at the whole. There was times I'd want to actually train and try to figure this out, and you're trying to herd cats basically.
It's a balancing act, kind of between their kids. You want them to have fun, and you want them to take the discipline seriously. And I think about that sometimes when I'm watching. I'm like, okay, if you're not listening to Trevor or Delmar, who take this very seriously and have committed a lot of time and effort and love to this martial art, this discipline, then you're being very disrespectful. And the girls understand that, I think, very, very well. And yes, they love to have fun, and you've met them, and they're fun-loving young ladies. But at the same time, you need to kind of listen and kind of pay attention, especially when you guys are talking. I'm not a fan of talking.
Oh, trust me, we know.
There's a lot of there's a martial point to that as well, and that's knowing when to get serious.
Right.
But if you're doing something, you should enjoy it. You should have fun. That's part of it. But you have to know when to get serious. Like, if there's a real situation, you have to be able to flip that switch.
Right.
And there's also like a saying in boxing, you don't play box. Like, you play basketball, you play football, you don't play box. It's like fighting, right? You don't. Sure, we can play fight. We can spar, but it's like you don't play spar, you just spar.
Right.
So,
right.
So, you can have fun with it when you're learning and everything, but there is a serious aspect to it. You need to know when to turn that switch on.
And I appreciate you, Dr. Bill, because you did a excellent job. By the way, everybody in YouTube land, Dr. Bill is every studio needs a Dr. Bill. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Yes, you
I'm
all
serious.
need to find your own Dr.
Yes,
Bill.
I'm serious, and I say that because of this, because he is an outside source that can see what's going on. Sometimes when you're in it, you don't see certain things. So I enjoy that he'll give some feedback and say, hey, I feel like such and such and such. And I go, Dr. Bill, I didn't think about that. That's a great idea.
There's been plenty of times you brought stuff to us and it's kind of like, didn't think about it like that. And then we implement whatever we
Exactly. I think it's good because, I think most martial arts instructors, and Trevor, tell me how you feel about this, you want the parents involved because it makes it easier to teach your children when you're involved. When I can go, hey, Joe, River's doing blah, 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 blah. Or I go, hey, Dr. Bill, Isla and Harper are doing blah, 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 blah.
At home, they're doing blah, 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 blah.
Exactly right. And it helps us to be able to say, oh, okay. Like we had a situation Monday. One of the children were not doing what they were supposed to do. They weren't listening at school. So we handled it here at the school so they can understand, oh, I need to make sure that I'm being good everywhere.
Yes.
Not just here.
That's right.
Because if y'all didn't know, Sifu has eyes everywhere.
Sifu's always watching.
So, Dr. Bill, let me also ask you this. So, as a professor of the academia, do you feel...
The academia.
Yes.
All the academia.
Of the academia.
Yeah.
Do you feel that more schools should maybe incorporate martial arts into their curriculum?
Well, I do think that it is a very valuable discipline in and of itself. So I'm not sure that Winthrop, where we both teach at Winthrop,
Go Eagles.
Go Eagles, is going to have a major in Kung Fu at any point. However, I do think it is valuable for students to have a physical outlet along with their academic work. So because everything kind of enhances. If you're just sitting in your dorm room and you're just vegetating, you're not exercising, you're not. The thing I really like about martial arts, it's kind of like meditation. When you're doing it, you're only doing that, and you can let go of some of the other things that are stressing you out. Institutional learning, such as we do at Winthrop with traditional students, can be very, very stressful.
Yes, sir.
And they need to be able to release that stress in some way. And as you guys know, punching a bag or punching an opponent releases a lot of stress.
Yes, it does.
And when you're not releasing stress in that way, you're working on a form and you're concentrating on that. And when you're concentrating on that, you're not concentrating on, oh, I got this test in 2 weeks, or I have to be at this class at this time, or I have to go to the library and research this. You're just doing that. And I think that that's therapeutic for a lot of students. So yes, I think that that's a really neat thing. Another thing I think is kind of neat, if I may.
Well, yes, sir.
I think about what you guys do in a similar way to what I do as far as an academic pursuit. You know, you do Kung Fu because you love it. You see the value in it. You see it, how it's enriched you. And in that way is an academic discipline as any other. You get to a certain point of mastery where you've done this for a long time. And you want to share this with other people because it is so valuable. And I feel very much the same way about my own discipline of mass communication and journalism. I did it for a long time. I studied it. I learned as much as I could about it. And I think it is very important to society. And I know what it's done for me, and I want to share that with other people. So that's why I kind of do what I do. And I think the similarities are very close in those terms. Mm-hmm. Does that make a little sense?
No, I definitely get what you're saying. I actually want to have Trevor kind of piggyback off of that, since he is I'm not going to say a new instructor, but he is new to starting his own school, new to starting this pursuit as more of a I don't want to say a job venture,
right?
But you can get financial gain from teaching now, because now you have that opportunity. So kind of piggyback off of what Dr. Bill was saying. How are you doing with that? And do you agree or disagree with any of his points that he said?
Well, what was one of your points again?
I don't even remember. I was equating the academic world to teaching in the martial world.
And before that, it was about how when you're doing martial arts, you're focused on just martial arts.
Right.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I would think that it's, it goes hand in hand. I mean, I'm not only teaching you how to, fight, self-defense, stuff like that. I'm teaching you how to be, a better person, how to use this as a coping skill for stuff that goes on outside of school. Like, for instance, both Charlie and Rain will be going to the governor's school.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
From what I know, I think both of them are going. And that, I'm like, that's going to be like college for them, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I said, y'all are going to have a whole lot of different stress. Stress is having to figure out, school.
You two, for those of you who don't know, Charlie and Rain are
my two students.
His student. He just got a new student today. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So yes, but continue.
But I was telling them, like, look, I said, it's going to be stressful. I said, one thing I've always preached, I said, school comes first. Don't neglect your academic for this, but at the same time, use this as an outlet for when you're stressed.
Correct.
Yeah.
With Nathaniel's getting ready to go to college at Winthrop.
Yeah.
So,
Eagles.
Congratulations, Nathaniel, for being accepted. And Devia as well. Devia got accepted to Winthrop too.
Nice.
Those two are two of our
Devia's
students.
going to Winthrop too?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
nice.
we got some Eagles. So
They going to be in your Ishinru class?
they both have said that. So okay, quick thing. Nathaniel says he wants to maybe be a teaching assistant to me. So
How is he going to teach Ishinru though?
Oh, don't worry, I got a plan. So I've already told Nate that, look, if you're gonna want to maybe be a TA, I don't know, because I'm an adjunct. I don't know how that works. But
does he get anything for being a TA?
I don't really know. Dr. Bill, can you?
Don't have TAs at Winthrop.
Okay.
We're a smaller liberal
Honorary
arts
title.
school. You can I don't know how it works in your class. You can do whatever you want, but it's called academic freedom. He can do whatever he wants. We don't generally have teaching assistants.
Okay, I didn't know how it worked.
But if you want to, but he's so advanced in the martial arts that
It
if
could
you
be
want to
an
use it
honorary title and put it on, put it on his
resume.
Resume, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Well, if he wants to take my class, because I know Devia told me they were playing D&D in the school last night, and she was like, I'm thinking about taking your issue class. I'm like, okay, come on. I have listen, I'm happy they want to take my class.
If I wind up at Winthrop, I will definitely take it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy. I think it's fun. And I will definitely say this, teaching in a university as opposed to teaching in my own school, two completely different things.
How so?
Oh, well, here I have a lot more freedom in some respects. I can kind of choose what the rules and regulations are. I mean, if you want to even be more particular, you can even choose who comes and who doesn't come.
You can tell people no.
And you can say no, and so, but in the academia, like Dr. Bill would say, I mean, you have your hierarchy, and you have to ensure that you're following the regulations of the school.
Right.
And while I can be tough here, there's certain things I can do here that
you can't necessarily do.
I wouldn't necessarily do at Winthrop, and that's just because the school probably wouldn't allow me. I don't know how they feel about me taking the kids outside flipping tires.
108 horse steps.
Right, they're gonna do doing horse steps and
right.
tons and tons of push-ups and things of that nature. But however, I mean, I do have a certain level of discipline in that class, so when people come in, they do understand. Like one of our rules that we've always had, if they come into class late, you do push-ups. So we try to make sure they're timely. When you walk through the door, you bow. Just different things like that. If you become an upper belt, you have to get a gi. You have to wear your gi. You need to wear your belt. So we still have discipline. We're just not as maybe.
Where does upper belt start for y'all?
Upper belts. Normally, anybody that's over white belt, we'll call it upper belt, and only because in our class, usually we'll have between 15 to 25 students, somewhere in there, depending.
How long can someone take that class? Is what I'm like.
I like the way you do it. You only take it.
Go for it, sir. Yeah.
You take it once, but you can keep going to the class.
And it's still adding credit to your.
It's still advancing in the discipline.
Yeah.
The discipline and college credits.
Well, you can audit it.
You can audit it. Yeah.
You can audit the course.
See, that's interesting.
Yeah. So you'll have people who go to a class and audit it.
The course?
Auditing is you go to the class, but you're not taking it for credit, or
you're kind of taking it because you want to take it, not necessarily.
You're just
filling the spot.
Enrichment.
Yeah.
You just want to learn.
Gotcha.
And people will audit classes at a university just because they want a little more knowledge. Usually, it's harder in some classes because you don't have a seat for them.
Right.
And of course, the paying students have to have
Right.
priority. But that's not unusual.
I was wondering because I was curious as to how many would do that just to advance and get a further belt.
So surprisingly, we actually have quite a bit of upper belt. So, like I said, anything over white is usually an upper belt. And right now, we probably have, I would say, maybe about 8 or 9 upper belts.
Yeah.
Which is good for us because at one point, I mean, we didn't have any upper belts. And I think what helped us kind of start bringing karate back was changing the way we taught the students. Because, as Dr. Bill knows, Trevor knows, and now you're learning this generation of people learn differently.
Most definitely.
And so you have to cater to that. And if you don't, they're going to lose interest. One thing that my sensei would make us do is we would do charts. And charts are basically kind of like all the basics. And so we would do charts all the time. Well, this generation, that doesn't necessarily work. So I had to figure out a more creative way to incorporate the chart work, but keep them engaged. So we'll do walking drills. We'll do 2-person drills. We're still working the chart work, but we're doing it where it's more interactive. So now it's like, oh, I get why I do this. Because a lot of times they would do it and wouldn't know why.
Do you guys do the, like you was talking about earlier, like the belt, what do you call them? Stickers? Or they're not stickers.
Oh, you mean the stripes?
Stripes.
So we don't do stripes. So the way we do it in our Ishinru course is every year or every semester you'll do a belt test at the end of the year or end of that semester.
Okay.
And then depending on your belt level, in the earlier levels like white, yellow, orange, every semester you'll be promoted. So if you're a white belt and then you're there for a semester, you'll be promoted to yellow, and then if you're there for a semester, you'll be promoted to orange.
I see.
Because, Ishiru is not necessarily an easy martial art, but like there's not as much material as some other styles.
Okay.
So you can pick it up faster.
Gotcha.
However, though, you can, once you get to about green belt, so it's white, yellow, orange, green. When you get to green belt, then we start making you wait a year.
Okay.
So you wait a whole year,
Okay.
and then once you get your green belt, you get your blue belt, you wait a year, and then when you get your brown belt, usually we'll make you wait 3 years or longer, depending.
How long is the course, like, just to get the college credits? A year?
That's semester.
Semester.
Yeah.
So
And
people
it's
would
a
have to
one-credit
stick around
class.
for years after to get that. Now, I mean, do people get up that high there at the school?
I have.
That's how he did it.
That's
That's
I
how
did it
Belmont
that way.
did it.
Yeah, I did it that way.
That's awesome.
hmm
You was at college that long too, though.
So what happened was once I graduated, I had gotten to a certain level. I think I was either a blue belt or a brown belt. Maybe I had just got my brown belt because
Right.
I was a 5-year college student.
Okay.
So I think I got my brown belt about my 5th year.
Yeah.
And so I was a Rock Hill native, and I wasn't going to quit. I had put so much time and energy.
Right.
So Sensei was like, this is going to be part of your training. You're going to assist. You're going to keep training, but you're going to help me with this class.
Okay.
So I was like, okay. And
How
so
did that work? Was it just like he just let you come in, or was it more like
I was about to say,
Paper-
with
no
now,
paperwork
probably that'd be a
involved,
lot harder to do.
well,
Yeah.
he would have to talk to the powers that be and say, hey, this person's going to be helping me and volunteering and assisting me with this. And so we made sure we went through the proper channel. So when I went inside the gym, it wasn't just like I was just coming in. They knew who I was. They knew why I was there. Things of that nature. And a lot of times, a lot of people who decide to return, they're either alumni or they're involved in campus in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of how we do that. And so we keep people involved in the course that way.
Gotcha.
But I mean, it works really well.
Right.
It works well. But either way,
And it's cost effective.
yes.
Yeah.
If you to move up in the martial arts, it can be a little costly.
Mm-hmm.
So, to be able to audit the class over and over and over again without having to pay for lessons over and over again,
Mm-hmm.
that can work out pretty well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I can see that.
And another thing that we try to do too now is that we, now that we've grown, Winthrop offers the opportunity for them to have a club. So they may, because they've talked about it now, because now they've grown so much and
Right.
people are, normally we would only meet once a week on Thursday.
So you might start meeting twice a week if you get the club going.
Exactly. And maybe if I don't necessarily always need to be there because we have somebody who's high ranking enough that they can take them through chart workouts or they can work on their katas.
You got
and
me
things of that
curious.
nature.
Like,
Do you think club will probably be more just a open mat type workout? Y'all come work out and stuff, and then class will be when the actual stuff goes on, or how do you think?
You know
I wonder
what?
what kind of hoops I'd have to jump through just to come join you guys on Thursdays?
So let's actually talk about that after this commercial
Show up.
break.
I don't know.
Do I have to actually?
So we're gonna go on
become a
commercial
student?
break and we're gonna answer that question about clubs because that's actually how I got started with doing Kung Fu, a college club.
Yep.
Awesome, we'll be right back. All right, and we're back. And to continue on our conversation, talking about clubs real quick, and just in general, I feel like for you parents, as your children get older and they get ready to go to college, as you can see with myself being an example, and Trevor, did you do any martial arts clubs while you were at school?
No.
Okay.
I know me and Martin Grant had talked about restarting the York Tech Martial Arts Club with like Mr. Ed, but never got.
Okay. So I'm an example of a higher education club helped me find an outlet that I actually love. So I encourage you guys as your kids get older. Encourage them to find things on campus, especially a martial art.
Mm-hmm.
So Dr. Bill, I know while we were talking on break, you said something about the cost effectiveness of going to a club on a campus is a great thing. So I want to encourage all parents, if you got a child that's in college or even high school, a child in general, doesn't matter. Martial arts courses in the community or on that campus, are usually really good because they're going to teach those fundamental skills of confidence and self-protection. And to segue into that, Dr. Bill, as your girls get older and they reach that dating stage,
Oh, yeah.
what are you hoping that their martial arts training will do for them as they go into the world and they try to develop meaningful relationships?
Well, I'm hoping that role models have been wonderful here. The way people treat each other here is a nice reflection of what I want to see for them in the future. Being treated with respect, being treated with kindness, somebody not being overly physical with them or abusive. All of those are fears that kind of live in the back of a father's mind for their daughters. I don't want to see that for them. I also know at some point I don't have control of it either. But if you have enough role models and you have enough positive, they view enough positive interactions between people with good relationships that they're not going to slip into someone being harmful to them. And that's nice, but you can't always control that which is part of why they're here. I can't control what some knucklehead's going to do on campus at a house party or whatever else. But if they understand their self-worth and have enough confidence and have enough wherewithal to remove themselves from a situation or, God forbid, defend themselves, I would like to see that. So I hope that establishing when they were younger kind of a martial mentality. See what I did there?
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
Hey.
yeah. See? There's a connective tissue between that confidence that leads on into their college years, so that they can feel good about those things and know that they're strong, they're capable, and they have a lot of worth as people. And hopefully they'll emanate that, reflect it, and draw that to them, and that kind of thing, all that positivity.
I definitely think you and your wife do a good job of making sure that they have good decision-making skills.
We try. We're not perfect, but we do try. And they're good kids. You know them. They're
very good.
They're very good girls. And nobody's perfect, but we do our best to move them in the directions that will lead to their happiness in the future.
No, I think you're doing a great job. Seriously.
Thanks, bud.
You read my mind when you said decision making. That's what I was thinking the whole time. That's one of the, I feel like the most, especially in the teen range.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It's a huge skill.
So tell us a little bit about, because you have a son and a daughter.
Right.
So what about you, that same kind of question going for you?
Ask it again.
So, with martial arts, as they, continue and, you have small children. So
right. It's a little different.
Let's change that question just a little bit, because his girls are older. So with your small kids,
right,
what do you feel martial arts can do for them, is doing for them, or will do for them?
Right, will do. Yeah, it's kind of what Trevor was talking about earlier too. It's just, I feel like all these skills are good for all ages, but some apply more to like teens or younger kids. And go back to that decision-making thing. I think that's a better thing. It's kids too, but teens especially, because they're nearing that age where they're going to start. They have the time and the capability to make choices on their own with no outside influence. So what they're taught and their life experience is what's going to judge how they make those choices.
Trying to figure out who they are as people and whatnot.
Yeah, and what's the right choice, and then there always comes a day where you are the one making the choices for your life. So I feel like that's one of the biggest skills, and I think martial arts can help with that. And especially like Kung Fu, it's, as you were saying with your students, you're teaching them to fight, you're teaching them self-defense, but you're also trying to teach them some life experience.
Right.
And that's a big part of it. So as far as my young children, again, my main thing right now is focus, discipline, that kind of thing, and it's working. It's hands down working.
Funny story. So River is probably the most respectful young man that I've ever met. Every time you speak to him, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm just like, okay. I mean, but he's so enthusiastic when he does it. And we were talking about that this week I said, man, he really has started, emanating this. And Joe was like, well, we kind of talked to him at home. And so like, we do that here. We want them to say yes, sir, no, ma'am. And, we know not every kid's going to do that. But the biggest thing is we want the respect factor.
Yes.
Respect the people that you're talking to.
Right.
And I think he does a good job about that. And now I've seen him, which I'm so impressed by him, that even if it's something that he doesn't want to do, he'll think about it. And then he'll go, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and do it. And he'll still say, yes, sir. And he'll still do it.
Right.
Even though he doesn't want to do it.
Right.
Or if he doesn't want to do something, I do also appreciate him saying, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Because, okay, I appreciate you being honest.
Yep.
I appreciate your honesty.
Sometimes going back to the topic earlier, sometimes I think me being there influences that a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's the times where I need to walk away. Because he'll always like open up a little more when it's somebody else. Which is part of the reason I haven't joined in the first place. It's like, it's good to have that outside influence like Sifu, a coach, or somebody else, not just mom and dad hounding him all the time. Because we also homeschool.
Right.
So it makes a big difference.
Well, home makes a difference too. You know, the way the girls have developed, I would remind them constantly to practice, and I would supervise them practicing at home from time to time when they were littler. Now it's just it's more of a have you practice today, maybe you should practice today, and that kind of thing instead. Because you could like kill a spark in a kid pretty quick.
Yeah.
By coming at them, if they
much pressure.
If you put too much pressure on them, and I think I've been guilty of that too. At home, putting too much pressure on.
Yeah.
And instead saying, maybe you should go do this. And, I'm proud of them when they don't want to do it and they do it anyway. Everybody, when you learn the most when you're not really feeling it, you go and do it just the same.
Yeah.
And they do that. And that's coming to practice, or it's working out at home, or whatever they're doing. And they work out. They'll work together too. When they're struggling, they'll put on, Ilaria isn't in love with sparring, and she's the littlest one in the teens class, and she is quite petite, and I totally understand that. And sometimes she feels like she gets worked, and she does. But Harper will work with her on those things, and what I like is that Harper just doesn't go and beat the crap out of her. She works with her. They don't bring their martial arts into their conflicts at home. They'll bicker with each other. I keep pointing over there because they're over there. They'll bicker with each other, but they don't do martial arts on each other or challenge each other in that way.
And that's the thing, I feel like that should be taught. It is taught here. It's like, you use these skills if you need them.
Right.
Like for some of the younger kids, it's like if they get taught and then they're going out and trying to fight, well, you're kind of learning it the wrong way, young grasshopper. Like, you're learning these if you need it. I mean, go hit people, go kick people at school. It's like, so. But it catches on.
It does. Trevor, what were you about to say?
No, I'm saying like I can attest to the fact that you pushed them, because there was plenty of times when during COVID, when I was teaching them your driveway, you would already had them all out there, even Sam out there practicing, working. That way they were all ready to go when I got there.
Yeah.
Seafood Bill over here.
Seafood Bill.
It's so important that like you're just involved in some way. Like, I'm a huge believer in like people say do as I say, not as I do. I don't listen to people that say that. Why would I? You know, like if you're not practicing what you preach, and it's like, I get people will drop them off or think of it as like a thing, but like if you're taking it serious, it doesn't mean you got to like. You're just involved. You're paying attention. You're helping them. You're coaching them. That's a great thing.
You should at least know as a parent, I believe, you should at least know what's going on in class during the week.
What's going on?
Yeah,
Who's teaching them?
Some parents can't, hey, this
Right.
is the only time I have to run to go get groceries, or I have to go pick up another kid. But you should at least be like, hey, how did class go today? Or like, come in and stop and talk to one of the teachers, like, hey, what did they do in class? What can little Johnny work on from home?
Yeah, I would at least want to know who's teaching them and what's being taught, like how they're doing it. Get a
And,
feel for
and
it.
even if you're not in a position to do that, and you can't really be here or feel as plugged into what the class is doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to have a trusted place for them to be.
Yeah.
A trusted mentor for them to have.
Yeah.
And know that they're safe while you're off running errands or picking up one of your other kids and that kind of thing. And hi, I'm such and such as parent. What are they working on? What do they need to work on at home? Sometimes I can't be here. Is it okay if I leave them here? Are they going to be okay? And I'm very comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
And I'm very comfortable staying and hanging out and watching. And the adults here are wonderful. The guys work out over here while the teens are practicing, and I can chat with them and joke with them, and I really like that. I like those guys, and I like all you guys.
Yeah.
So, perhaps know enough about the place you're taking them to and the people who you're working with to be comfortable doing that.
Right.
I think it's a big thing that a lot of parents don't do. I think for myself as a teacher, and I'm sure Trevor can attest to this, we kind of want to know the parents because that helps us.
Right now, like Rain's dad today, he stayed the whole entire time.
I chatted.
And we talked, and I, throughout the thing, I was like, what do you think so far? Like, and like, he was, had very positive feedback about everything and stuff. I mean, what it sounds like, they're going to be here, I don't know about every Saturday, but he said, I'll see y'all next Saturday. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. I mean, when the parents are involved, it is easier for us as the teacher.
Right.
Because guess what? We're not, I mean, while the cat's away, the mice will play, and sometimes, children can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good to know that when I'm teaching River, I can say, hey, River, go show your dad your farm. And he is excited. He's like, okay, yeah.
Right.
Or on the opposite side, okay, River, go talk to your dad. He'll be like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
It's so hard to find that balance because of encouragement versus discipline. Because sometimes I feel like I'm way overdoing one or the other.
I've never noticed you overdoing one or the other.
Gotcha.
You are very patient.
Right.
Yeah,
You're a very
he is.
patient dad. You're a really good dad.
He
You
is.
keep it
And
positive
appreciate
even
that.
when you are maybe
You are.
necessarily having the discipline. I mean, but you,
Right.
I never once, been like, oh, they chose me to mean the kid. No, it's like, I wish my dad would talk to me like that when I was a kid. at some
you
point.
do a good job, encouraging him and reinforcing him. And for us, even though we don't have birth children, yes, we have your children in class, and they're like children to us.
Right.
We can watch you guys and emanate, oh, I see how Joe talks to River, so maybe I can do that. Or I see how you talk to the girls. Okay, maybe I can emanate that, because that helps us because you know them better than we do.
Right.
So we can go, I'm going to use that,
Right.
because we're watching too. We're watching how you interact with them and how, they receive what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I mean, both of you are good parents, which is great. And I think if more parents would invest, I'm going to use that word. A lot of parents don't invest their children into whatever they're doing. Even if they're not going to stay in it, if they're in it for however long, you need to be invested.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're invested, it makes a huge difference in how they perform
I feel like it makes
and if
all
they
the
like it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Truly. Because I think a lot of times parents turn their kids off to things because they're just like, my dad doesn't care, so why should I care? My mom didn't care, why should I care?
I think that probably has happened to a lot. Like some of the kids who have come to school, the parents start showing up with them, and it's great. Then now I'm just dropping the kid off, and then they disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I get that.
And if you're invested, man, I'm telling you, it makes a huge
anything.
difference. Yeah,
Anything.
yeah. When your dad's behind you or your mom's behind you, like this past tournament.
I've told you a story about that. It was like a
Go ahead.
distant relative that, no names or anything. Is a distant relative out of state, and we were visiting them. And they have a son. This is I don't even want to say what they are to me, but
I remember this story.
basically a couple, and it's like a stepfather figure. I don't even know if they're married, but like they have a son, and he's around probably 7 or 8. Always has a lot of disciplinary issues. And with doctors, they're wanting him to try such and such and such. I won't get into that either, but but while I'm there for a short 3 days, every time this kid even said anything or asked anything, the guy like just brushes him off, gets an attitude, like kind of get out of my face. And he was literally just wanting to watch him ride his bike. And his chain popped off one time. I went over, helped him with his chain. I was like, good job. Like, I seen you, jumping. Like, the kid's jumping for joy. It's like, why don't you try, instead of listening to these people that don't even know your son and talking about take this medication, take this, why don't you try, I don't want to cuss on here, but why don't you try caring? Why don't you try spending a few minutes with your in-law, your son-in-law? Like, why don't you actually care? That'll make all the difference. That's all the kid wants.
Right.
It's a pretty touchy, like, passionate kind of thing. It's like, and he was sitting there trying to explain to me, we've tried this, we've tried this, we've tried this. And in my head, I'm like, I'm a respectful guy. I'm like, okay, I understand this. But in my head, I'm like, freaking idiot. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, so just being involved it makes all the difference.
I'll say this as a, use the term seafood because that's the traditional term, but really we're coaches. As a coach, you have to become a pseudo parent to that person. And I say person because it's not always, or pseudo big brother, depending on age.
Right.
A lot of times I have seen that when you become a positive influence in that person's life, they will come to you and talk to you about things. Like, I'm going to shout out Harper because Harper will sometimes message me on band and say, can we do such and such in class? Sure. Or, hey, don't forget we're doing this. And I go, okay.
You've taught us some interesting things that you've been asked.
Oh yeah, and they've told me things that sometimes they'll come to me and say, don't tell my parents, or I got a girlfriend, I don't want my dad to know, I want my mom to know. I mean, the kids have done that.
Is that right?
No, your girls have never done that, I promise. On camera, Harper and Isla have never done that. But just saying, like, there's just they've done that, and so it kind of, sometimes it makes me laugh, but it also honors me that the fact you feel trustworthy enough to come to me, or they'll come to me about certain problems that maybe they wouldn't have gone to their parents first about.
Right.
And then we talk and they say, okay, well, I need to talk to my parents about that.
Yeah.
And so as a martial arts instructor or a coach in any kind, even though that is not your birth child, you still treat that person as if they were your children.
Yeah.
You give them that same respect, that same that caring, but you make sure that they understand, hey, listen, there's a discipline factor here.
Yep.
I'm going to push you, but I understand that you have a breaking point.
Right.
But, so
I think I finally started to figure out Charlie's breaking point when it comes to certain things.
Go ahead. I want to hear about this.
Well,
curious.
Obviously we teach over video, so some stuff is not always clear coming across on video.
Yeah.
That's why I try to work with him, especially whenever I have him on days. It's like, all right, let's make sure you're looking right when it comes to certain things, because he might see it one way, I'm doing something, and it might be something completely different to him, or however. So I noticed, like, he'll get frustrated, he'll start getting quiet. I'm like, we ain't doing that. We're gonna talk this out and figure out what's going on, because I ain't having you sit here and shut down on me. Because then there ain't no point in me teaching you the rest of this, however much longer we got.
Communication is key.
And it's been working. Finally.
That's good, because guess what you're going to be teaching him? Oh man, I get frustrated and I shut down.
And he does, and he does, and I'm like, hey, like I caught him doing it Tuesday.
You got to work through it.
I was like, hey, what's going on? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, all right, well, we ain't doing anything else until we talk about it.
That's right.
So you're going to talk to me. We're going to figure this out.
Yep. You're part of the problem or part of the solution, right?
That's true.
That is very true.
That is true. And that's why, when we go back to the term seafood, it means father teacher. that father word usually is the thing that pops up first.
Yeah.
Like you should be like a dad
Right.
or a mom or whatever.
Right.
And, I think what's happened to a lot of people who in the martial arts world, at least my opinion, is you're coaching people, but you kind of don't care anymore. They just become a paycheck, or they just become a number in your class, or they're your prize fighter and they make you look good. So you don't really care about that person's life and what's going on.
Paying for the next belt.
Or paying for the next belt, right. And so it can be hard sometimes as a teacher when you do care, and then maybe that person decides to move on. So you have to understand that too. I mean, that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
And so
the last season of Cobra Kai did a lot of type of stuff with that.
Oh, really?
It was very interesting to
Kids
see
were
the
switching dojos like
not
nobody's
just
business.
No, but it really went into that whole without giving too much spoilers. So if any of y'all have seen this, Johnny and Kreese finally have it out.
Mm-hmm.
Man to man and tall, and they have to go through the whole thing of I'm sorry I did this to you, and it's I was trying to do the best for you as I could, that type of thing.
Sure. I think that as a parent, I don't know how far the girls will go in their martial journey. I'm not sure. They may need to take a break. They may branch out to other interests. High school's coming around the corner for Harper, and Isla will be there before you know it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They might want to try another sport. I know a lot of the fellas and ladies in the teens class have tried some sports, which means taking a little break from Kung Fu.
Mm-hmm.
But I think whatever they choose to do, or whatever a former student chooses to do, whether they will return to the fold or not, they can still make you very proud.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
When they take those lessons and turn those lessons toward a positive result in their lives.
Yeah.
Maybe I would not have. Don't you have a student who went to the Air Force Academy?
Oh yeah, David.
He's in the Space Force now.
Yeah, he
And
is.
Maybe he wouldn't have had quite that level of confidence that he's shown at the academy and the level of success. I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. He was a very nice young man, I recall. But I don't know how much time or bandwidth he has for martial arts anymore, but those lessons stay with you.
Mm-hmm.
If the girls can carry that level of confidence with them to college and forward, if somebody grabs them at a party and they have the confidence to, no, off,
Mm-hmm.
that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whether they ever take another lesson or not, or whether they say, I think this class is going to be really hard, but I'm going to do it anyway
Mm-hmm.
because I want to get from here to here and I need this class to do this.
Yep.
Or I need to commit myself to something very hard in my job to get this promotion or to get this raise or to just feel good about who I am,
Mhm.
right? I think that those are the lessons that move forward. And to be a Sifu or to be an instructor or whatever it happens to be, that's the ultimate goal anyway, I think, to that you're always going to be their Sifu, right? As a professor, I really love the test of my success is somebody else's success.
Yeah.
When they go get that job they've dreamed about, when they are having a family and they have set up a life that they enjoy, to be some small part of that success story makes me feel fantastic.
Yeah.
And it should make you guys feel fantastic too. Whether they go on to be the biggest Hollywood martial arts hero that ever was or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And those are the real, I guess, the grassroots kind of fundamental
No,
lessons.
I can definitely say this, and then we'll wrap up. But one thing, that I can pat ourselves on the back that we've done as a school, it is very interesting to watch the people, even if they don't train here anymore, they still tend to hover around here in some way. And it's interesting how their personal lives have been affected by what they've done here.
Mm-hmm.
For example, we have, you remember Hudson?
Yeah, for sure.
Hudson is going to the military. He's
Oh,
going
good
to
for
the
him.
army.
That.
Good
Yep.
for him.
He leaves. I think he's already left.
No, he was here last night,
Oh,
but
Is Bender at a boot camp?
Michael
Bender is
Bender
there right
is
now.
now in the National Guard.
Yeah.
He will graduate boot camp in sometime in May. I'm planning on, depending on what day of the week it is, I'm planning on going to go watch.
I didn't know about that.
That's good for him.
Jason Mikowski is furthering his ventures with his physical
Right.
therapy and things of that
But
nature.
he's going to go for the doctorate
and he's
program.
going to go.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
got his bachelor's, so he's going to go for his doctorate.
Right.
And I mean, that's just a few people. I mean, there's many more
Right.
stories of people who, maybe they're not training here, but we're still friends with them. We talk to them all the time, or we still do things together.
That's a testament of how good you guys are instructors. It's not just come in, learn how to throw a jab, pay for your next belt, and see you later. It's like you care about these people. You're
We
trying
do.
to
We
give
do
them
care.
lessons to carry with them,
Yeah.
like you said.
So
I still hear from Courtney every once in a while.
I mean, we try to make sure that this place is a family. We're a family. And one thing I can definitely say about those guys, especially Mikowski, man. Look, if I'm ever in a pickle, Mikowski has got my back. He really does. Like if I'm in a pickle, he'd be like, Jason, we rolling out. Oh, we rolling, CP. All right, let's go.
Right.
That's just kind of how he is. But I appreciate that because,
Anger translated.
oh my God, yes he is.
He is the anger translator.
But you know what? I appreciate that about him because, there's certain things where it's like, I shouldn't say this. I'm not going to say anything.
Jason's
And he'll
like, "I
step
gotta
in
say
and
it."
he'll handle it. And I'm like, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. But that's what family does for each other. We do that for each other. We got each other's back, And so, if Dr. Bill needs something, Dr. Bill can call me and say, hey, X, Y, and Z. We got you, Dr. Bill. That's not a problem,
Right.
Yeah, I'm not a martial arts, but I know a lot of martial artists, so I usually feel pretty safe.
Yeah, me too.
We ever found out someone was messing up a bill, we rolling up.
We rolling up. Listen, look, and if I'm on campus, if you got an issue with a student, just we got a problem here.
Is there like a ground security or something? Like, don't call him. Call us.
Yeah, right.
See if we'll take care of
Right.
it.
Don't
No.
Winthrop PD.
Listen, yo, I'll get all the upper belt. We'll just roll up in the geese, be like,
Yeah.
we got an issue here. What's going on?
Yeah,
I don't anticipate that
issue. I don't
practice
think so.
happening, but yeah, I appreciate the thought.
So, guys, do you have anything else regarding this topic that maybe you would like to say, or any encouragement to any parents that might be listening to this that are considering getting their children into the martial arts? What encouragement do you have for them as parents, as instructors?
I think I have one piece of advice, and that is, I don't think the discipline is as important as the individual's commitment teaching it, and that the person who's teaching it has an emotional IQ and can read people and meet people where they are. I think that's probably, whether it's a little kid or a teen or an adult, whoever you are, if you're interested, make sure the people who you're training with and people you're training under have your best interest at heart. That's kind of my final thought on that.
Good advice.
Surround yourself with people you want to be like.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Mine just kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier, and that is just kind of be involved, but to take it a little step deeper would be like, if you're a parent and you care and your child has an interest in something, don't just shut them down, be involved. It can be simple stuff. Your child wants to go fish or something, like, don't always say no. If they want to throw a football or whatever, if they want to play dolls, do it, because there's going to be a day where that's not an option anymore and you'll regret it.
Yep.
So just spend some time with them,
Trevor?
push your kids to do the hard things. I mean, I would say more so, just because, it may seem difficult, life is difficult, and you're gonna have to make harder choices as you get older, and make your kids strong.
Yeah.
This is an encouragement to any martial arts school owner, instructor. I know a lot of times some people, especially in the Kung Fu community, sometimes they don't like teaching children. And so my encouragement to you is start a kids class, because a lot of times what you'll see is that you are planting seeds, and the seeds that you plant, you may not ever see them sprout, But those seeds that you plant, a lot of those people come back to the martial arts. You don't know how many people I meet who have come into school that are either teenagers or young adults or even older adults that say, oh, I did martial arts X, Y, and Z. I always had an interest in it, or something happened and I had to take a break, and now I'm back.
Yeah.
So whoever planted that seed, thank you, because guess what? Now we have somebody who's back to training, who's doing something positive for their life. So even with small kids, they're going to try different things. You know, the girls may take a break, but I guarantee you, Dr. Bill, I can bet money on it, and I'm using not a betting man, that they will go back to it at once. So, I know so.
I think so.
I definitely know they will, because they have that seed imprinted upon them that they say, I remember when I did that and I felt like this. I think I want to do that again.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody's life's changed. Yeah, people are going to take breaks, and that's okay. But guess what? I think that as an encouragement to all of you guys, I say keep your kids in martial arts. Keep them invested in the martial arts as much as possible. Continue to train people in the martial arts, make them better people. And I'm going to try to do the same. And I want to thank everybody for being on this podcast today. This was great.
For sure.
And behind the scenes, I want to make sure that I shout out Miss Bobby Elliott, because
Bobby's the goat.
she is a great director. Trust me, she keeps us on task.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Martial Mentality, and we're signing out. Peace.
Thank you.